Buckle up. That's a phrasal verb because I have a monster vocabulary lesson for you to help you level up your skills. There's another one. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you over 100 different phrasal verbs. That's right, over 100. So it's a lot of information to soak in. And there's another phrasal verb. So you can see we use phrasal verbs all the time. And if you are someone who enjoys building your vocabulary, please subscribe, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes, the channel is Interactive English, and it's all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. And I know phrasal verbs can be a bit tricky, so I've grouped them into different categories. I'm going to tell you the meaning and give you a lot of different examples so you can see how they're used in context. Are you ready? Game on. Listen up, because today I am going to teach you some very useful phrasal verbs. We use phrasal verbs all the time. They are so common in everyday conversation. And today I'm going to teach you some phrasal verbs that are related to listening. These are listening phrasal verbs. And the first one that I have for you is listen up. I said it at the very beginning of this lesson, and all it means is to listen carefully. It's just you're telling somebody or a group of people to listen carefully. So when I think about this phrasal verb being used, I think about maybe a coach talking to a group of players. They might want to get their attention and tell them, hey, everybody, listen up. What I'm about to say is very important. Or maybe a teacher would say it to a group of students. They want the students to pay attention and they tell everybody, listen up.
Listen up. No one mention Richard Roper again.
Listen up. I don't have to tell you what this game means.
Listen up. I'm hearing a lot of whispers and rumors.
All right, listen up. Listen up.
The next listening phrasal verb I have for you is to listen in. Now, when you listen in, you are secretly listening to their conversation. You are secretly listening to what they're saying. We can also make this a 3-word phrasal verb with the preposition on and listen in on someone.
Looks like Gary and Gertie are about to get briefed on the Yukata assignment. We should listen in.
I can only assume that you're listening in.
You've been listening in on our conversation.
Tell the FBI agents listening in on this call.
Then we have hear about. So to hear about something, or maybe you hear about someone, is just to receive information about this thing or person. Did you hear about what people are saying in the comments? You should go check out those comments. And while you're down there, just write us a comment because we love hearing from you.
How do you know?
You hear about people who are worth hearing about.
How did you hear about that?
Oh, how did you hear about us?
The next phrasal verb is hear from, and you hear from someone. Now, this phrasal verb has 3 different meanings. The first meaning would just be you are receiving a phone call or a message or maybe even an email from another person. Did you hear from your friend? Which would just be like, okay, did they call you? Did they write you? Did you hear from them?
Will I hear from you?
Did you hear from the doctor?
Did you hear from your friend?
You hear from Bobby?
Did you hear from Superman?
The next meaning is just to listen to a person or even a group of people talk about a particular topic. For example, maybe the school faculty is going to hear from the students about some issue that's going on at the university. You would hear from these people.
Now, we shall hear from tonight's featured guest.
As we begin our service, we will now hear from her daughter.
And finally, it means that if somebody's angry, then you're just going to tell some other person about it. I think it's often used in the context, somebody's angry and they say, you're going to hear from my lawyer. I'm going to tell my lawyer about this thing that I am angry about. Or maybe somebody didn't apologize to you and you say, you know, if he doesn't apologize, then he's going to hear from me. I'm going to let him know about this thing.
You have 2 weeks, otherwise you'll hear from my lawyer.
But you'll hear from my attorneys in the morning!
You'll be hearing from me, Sherlock.
You will be hearing from me, Mr. Scott.
Okay, well.
I can be very persistent.
Then we have to hear someone out. And when you hear someone out, then you are just listening to this person. You are listening to what they have to say, and you let them finish. You are not going to interrupt this person because you are hearing them out. I think people frequently use it when you're maybe having an intense conversation or a discussion with somebody and you want this person to listen to you and you just tell them, look, hear me out. Listen to what I have to say. Hear me out.
Before you say or do anything, just hear me out.
Just hear me out. It's called Hinkley Cold Storage.
Just hear me out now, hear me out. All right, they were playing cards and I read his hand blind.
And I hope all of you hear me out and listen to the lesson until the very end. Because if you don't, then you're going to hear from me. You're going to hear about this. Another great listening phrasal verb is hear of. And you can hear of something and you are just receiving news about this thing or about this event. For example, I was shocked to hear of the sad news. Or you could hear of someone and you're receiving news about this person. For example, I haven't heard of anyone, all right? I don't know anyone who would not hit the like button for this lesson because phrasal verbs are amazing, they're wonderful. I haven't heard of anyone who wouldn't hit that like button, which is a way of me trying to tell you to hit that like button. So why don't you go ahead and do that?
You ever hear of Superman?
You ever hear of KFC?
The king shall hear of this!
Bert Crawford. You ever hear of us?
No, I won't hear of it, Mo. You're a fabulous king.
Then we have pick up. Now, the phrasal verb pick up has many different meanings. I just want to talk to you about the meaning that's related to listening. So to pick something up is just to hear a sound. You could also pick up a scent as well. But when it comes to listening, you would pick up a sound. And what I think about is somebody who's trying to listen carefully. Maybe they have their headphones on and they're trying to listen in on a conversation, and they say, "Oh, are you picking anything up? Have you picked up the sound? Can you hear anything?" Or maybe you're trying to listen to things happening in outer space, and you're trying to pick up some sounds. You're trying to pick something up.
Try the scanner. See if you can pick up it. Don't worry, Cap. I can handle it.
It's all yours. If the scanners pick up anything, report it immediately.
I tried to get a fix on Alpha Centauri, according to Will's calculations. Pick this up instead.
How about we talk about that other thing? Transmission Abdul picked up on his little radio.
The next listening phrasal verb is tune in. And to tune in means to listen to and watch a TV show or maybe a news broadcast or even a video lesson. I really appreciate it that all of you tune in to our video lessons and hear me out. I am really grateful for that. Thank you.
Tune in next week for the exciting conclusion.
Neil here. If you've tuned in for WNYX's regularly scheduled...
Can you tune into the cockpit frequency?
Yeah, why?
The next phrasal verb, and this is probably my favorite one on this list, is to tune out. And when you tune out, you stop paying attention. You stop listening, and you can tune someone out, or you could tune something out. And you're just not listening to this thing or this person anymore. And I really hope that you are not tuning me out right now because you've heard about something else exciting going on. Don't worry about that. Just stay with me. I want you to hear me out all the way until the end.
Children, okay, tune out. Okay, because some secrets are coming out, all right? Some adult ones.
Look, when Amy complains about her coworkers, I just tune her out.
It's just one more shift. Just tune her out and she'll eventually leave you alone.
And then we have, well, this is not a phrasal verb. It's just an expression, but I liked it, so I thought I would throw it in there, and it is to hang on to someone's word. Often I think the entire expression would be to hang on to someone's every word, and that just means you are listening very carefully to what someone is saying because somebody is saying something that is so exciting, it is so captivating that you just want to listen to every single word that this person is saying, and you are hanging on to every word.
But he hangs on your every word. Oh, I'm telling you, take that responsibility seriously.
I guess it's because we all want to believe that what we do is very important. That people hang onto our every word.
I'm now the leader of thousands of people. They all hang on my every word.
So listen up. Now that you've tuned in to this lesson and you've heard me out, now I want to hear from you, and I want you to write to me in the comments. Fall phrasal verbs. And I'm not really talking about the fall season. I'm talking about phrasal verbs that all have the word fall. And phrasal verbs can be confusing for a couple of different reasons. You have the verb followed by a preposition, and when that preposition changes, well, the meaning is likely going to change. And phrasal verbs, many of them have multiple meanings as well. And as we go through the lesson, I will talk to you about that. And the one thing that I will really try to do as I teach you these different phrasal verbs is to give you some context and talk about, well, how you might often hear people use these phrasal verbs or how you can use them if you're having a conversation with someone else. Let's start with our first phrasal verb, our first fall phrasal verb, which is to fall apart. And if you say that something falls apart, it just means it's breaking into many pieces, or you could use it to refer to something that's breaking in general. So maybe you build something. It breaks into many pieces, you could say, well, it fell apart. Or if I have something like maybe a table, somebody could say, well, yeah, this table, it's really old, it's falling apart. It's not literally breaking into all these different pieces. You're really just saying it's kind of breaking down in general. It's not working very well. You need a new table because this one is falling apart.
Well, we could use the extra money, and this house is falling apart.
Then we have fall behind, and this means that you fail to do something fast enough or on time, or even that you're just able to maintain some level. So I think people often use this with work, and maybe they have a project and they have other things that they need to do. And you could say, yeah, I'm falling behind with my work. Or in the context of education, especially when you're talking about trying to maintain a certain level. If you're having difficulty in a class and you feel like all the other students are getting ahead of you, then you could say, well, the class is so difficult, I think I'm starting to fall behind and I'm not able to maintain a certain level. Fall behind.
Spring session should end.
You'd be expected to tutor him so he doesn't fall behind. In that respect, your classroom experience may actually be of use.
Fall through. This phrasal verb means that something is just not going to happen. And I think quite often we use this to talk about plans. We have things that we want to do. We hope that they happen. But if they don't, then you could say, this weekend, my plans just fell through and it's not going to happen.
That was great.
What are you doing here?
Something fell through, so I was able to come back a few days early.
Then I have a 3-word phrasal verb for you, which is to fall back on. And what this means is that you use something, especially in the form of financial support, when everything else has failed. And you might say that, well, I can't find a job right now, and that's okay because I can always fall back on my savings, and I have that financial support that I can fall back on.
What's your financial situation like? Do you have savings to fall back on? Do you come from wealth or? No.
And then I have a very common phrasal verb, which is fall down. It means to, well, just fall to the ground or floor. And you could use this to talk about a person or a thing. Now, it is a little similar, but also different than fall over, which really means in that case that something is, well, falling on its side when it was vertical. So if I were to use them maybe interchangeably, I could say, I tripped and fell down. It's the same as like, well, I tripped and fell over because I'm no longer standing and I'm on my side. If I were to say something like, I hung a painting and yesterday it fell down. Because it's probably falling to the ground or floor, you're not going to use fall over in that case. And because of that, I think it's so much more common to use fall down.
Fall down an elevator shaft? What the hell does this mean? I fall down an elevator shaft?
I don't know. I just bring the scripts.
Still, it's good to be a little more specific depending on the context. If you want to say something is on its side, it's not vertical anymore, it fell over.
What you doing down there?
I fell over.
What you fell over for?
I didn't do it on purpose.
Well, come on then.
And then we have fall off, which has a couple of different meanings. So the first one is that something becomes detached or separated from something else. I hung a painting and then the next day it fell off the wall. And often I think people will say what this thing is falling from. You could say the leaves are going to fall off the tree.
What do we do when we fall off the horse? We get back on.
The next meaning of fall off is when the rate or quality of something is becoming slower or smaller. And often I think you may use it in this context when talking about business. And you could say that, well, sales are starting to fall off. It's becoming slower. Or maybe new memberships have been falling off recently. And hi. So you can use fall off in that context of business. Do you have anything you want to add? The next phrasal verb is fall out. It also has a couple of different meanings that I want to teach you. The first one is that, well, to come out of something by falling. You could say that something falls out the window. The second meaning of fall out is to become loose and separate from your head or mouth. So think about it this way. You could say that somebody's hair is falling out, or maybe you have a tooth. It's a little loose and then it falls out. So in this case, when talking about, well, like hair or teeth, you're not going to use fall off. You will use fall out.
Mrs. Simpson, there's no physical reason why your hair should be falling out.
Then we have fall for, also two meanings. The first one is that, well, you develop romantic feelings for someone. And you could say, if somebody were to say, well, I'm falling for him, or I'm falling for her, they're talking about developing those romantic feelings.
Oh my God. You're falling for him.
I am not.
The second meaning is to be tricked or fooled by something. And I think a common expression you might hear in a TV show or movie is like, oh, I fell for the oldest trick in the book. And that just means that you were tricked or deceived by something that you should have known better, because it happens quite often.
The ring! I can't believe you fell for the oldest trick in the book!
And then there's fall into, also a couple of different meanings. The first one is that, well, you go into something, like somebody falls into the pool, or you could also say that you suddenly have a condition and you might fall into a coma.
Hey, Michael, did you fall into a koi pond?
I can't really hear you. I think we sort of have a bad connection.
Jen, did Michael fall into a koi pond?
Looked like the cabin depressurized and he fell into a coma or something.
Oh, I'm fine.
Sit.
And then there are some useful idioms that have this phrasal verb. You could say that something falls into place, that things happen in a satisfactory way without any problems, and things just fall into place.
Doing this mall tour, and he came here to our mall. It was like everything was finally falling into place. You know, like it was,
Fate.
You could also use the idiom to fall in someone's lap. And when something falls into your lap, it really refers to, well, something happens in an unexpected way that you were not planning for. You weren't trying to get this. It just falls into your lap. And you're often referring to something that's positive, something desirable. Maybe you could say, well, I wasn't looking for a new job, but this opportunity just fell into my lap.
It's up to you to make the best of it. And it's not like opportunity is just going to fall into your lap.
I hope that you found this lesson useful. I hope you learned something new and that you can, well, now go out there and try to use some of these phrasal verbs in everyday conversation. They are pretty common. They are very useful. And I hope that you understand it a bit better talking about some of the context in which we use these different phrasal verbs. I want to teach you 20 different phrasal verbs that have all positive meanings. And I think because I'm already telling you that all of these phrasal verbs have a positive meaning, I think that will make them a little bit easier to understand and possibly remember, because you can connect it to that feeling. The first phrasal verb that I have for you is believe in. And this just means to feel confident about something or someone. Often I think we use it when we're talking about a person, and you might say that you believe in someone. For example, you all want to improve your English, and I believe in you. I feel that if you keep working hard and practicing and watching these video lessons, I believe in you, and I think that you will achieve your fluency goals. Then we have a 3-word phrasal verb, which is brush up on. And typically you would say that you're going to brush up on something, which means that you are going to improve your knowledge or skill in something that you have learned before, but you've kind of forgotten. Let's say that you studied English in the past. You've forgotten a little bit, but you're going to improve your knowledge and you are going to brush up on your skills.
Read some books, brush up on your history.
The quiz Monday, brush up on chapters 3 and 4.
Yeah, I need to housebreak our new police dog. Plus, it couldn't hurt Ralphie to brush up on the fundamentals.
Get along. This is a very common phrasal verb, and it's used to talk about two or more people that are just friendly with each other. And I think it's very important that everyone try to get along. Next is the phrasal verb get over. You get over something. And what this is talking about is that you return to a normal state of health or happiness after some bad experience. And you might get over an illness, or perhaps you get over a bad breakup and you just return to your normal state. Then we have the phrasal verb get through. And to get through something means that you are trying to survive it, you're trying to endure it, and then you will reach the end and everything will be better. And often I think you would use this phrasal verb if you want to offer some encouragement, some support, and you might hear somebody say, look, you're going to get through this. I believe in you. You're going to get through this.
Just get through today. I'll be there tomorrow afternoon.
But we're just going to have to find a way to get through this together.
Next is go beyond. And to go beyond just means to be more than or do more than what is expected. And often you may hear people use it with this expression to go above and beyond. That if you do more than what is expected of you, then somebody might say that you just went above and beyond. Then we have goof off or goof around. They mean the same thing, and it pretty much means to avoid doing something and maybe you're wasting time. And I've included them in this lesson about staying positive because when you are dealing with some type of really bad experience, I think all of us need to relax a little bit, and it can be helpful to goof off or goof around, and it just helps us. It could help you get through the day.
Are we going to be goofing off like this every day?
We're not goofing off.
But what they really want is an excuse to goof off and not study for finals.
I can goof around, JD. I can goof around hard.
This says they only pay you $100 a week?
Yeah, but all I really do is goof around all day.
Then we have help out. And I think often you may find a pronoun between the verb and the preposition to help someone out. And this means that you're doing some work for somebody else, or maybe you're giving them some money and you are helping a person out. You guys, you can help me out if you want, and hit that like button down below. Then we have the phrasal verb keep at. And if you keep at something, if somebody tells you to keep at it, they just want you to continue working at something. And I think often this is really a little more encouraging, that if somebody's thinking about giving up and they're thinking about quitting and you want them to stay positive and really get through it, you might tell them, look, I believe in you. You just need to keep at it. Then we have the phrasal verb keep up, which is very similar. If somebody tells you, hey, keep it up, then they're telling you to continue working and maintain the effort that you're putting in. Or perhaps you're doing a great job and they want you to continue doing a good job, and they may tell you to keep it up. So that's a little bit of a slight difference. I think if somebody's going to tell you to keep at it, then I think they want to encourage you if maybe you're having a difficult time. Or if you're doing well and they want you to continue doing well and working, they may tell you to keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Clark, there's too much at stake. I can't just write Superman off. We need him.
You're right. We should keep at it.
No, I should keep at it.
Hey, Bri, your department's killing it, baby.
Hey, my pleasure, my treasure.
Keep it up.
Then we have light up. And to light up is just to look happy. And often I think people may use it to describe someone's face. And they would say, oh, like, her face just lit up, that she became very happy. Or maybe somebody might use the expression to light up the room, that it is somebody's presence, that they enter and maybe you say they just light up the room. They make everyone happy. Then we have look forward to. It is a 3-word phrasal verb, and it means to feel very excited about something that's going to happen in the future. For example, I look forward to 2021.
I look forward to the tournament.
I look forward to tomorrow night.
I look forward to your call.
I look forward to meeting her.
Look up. This phrasal verb means to become better. And often I think you would hear somebody say something like, things are looking up. Things are becoming better. They're starting to look up. Next is the phrasal verb pay off. And if something pays off, then it results in success. For example, people might say, well, hard work pays off. If you work really hard, then it's going to pay off. It's going to result in success. Then we have the phrasal verb pull through, and pull through is talking about someone who becomes well again after a serious illness. And if somebody is very ill, they're in the hospital, you want them to pull through and become well again. Next is the phrasal verb settle down, and that means to become, well, familiar with a place and just be happy about it. Often I think people might use it when they're talking about the future or something like that, and they'd say later on in life, I just want to settle down and have a family and just enjoy life.
We'll claim our land, and then we'll marry and finally settle down. You do want to settle down, don't you, Shannon?
Yes, I want to settle down.
I will say, Kyle used to be just like us, hanging out, drinking and stuff, but he seems happier now that he's settled down.
Then we have sort out, which means that you are dealing with a problem in a successful way. So if you have a problem, you might tell somebody that, I just need to sort this out. I need to deal with it successfully. I'm going to sort it out because you want to stay positive. I really hope that you sort out all of your problems. Then we have the phrasal verb straighten up. And if you say that someone straightens up, it's a positive phrasal verb because it means that they are behaving well after behaving poorly. So if somebody maybe they have some problems, they have some issues, you might tell that person to straighten up. And you'd say, I really want you to straighten up. I want you to behave well. You should sort out all your problems. Go settle down and just try to be happy and work hard. And in the end, it's all going to pay off. Work through. This phrasal verb means that you're trying to manage a problem that has different parts. So it could be a problem that is a little complicated, and you could say that you're trying to work through it. You want to work through it so that afterwards everything is better. Then we have the phrasal verb work up. And if you are trying to work your way up, it means you're trying to make progress. And typically I think you're trying to achieve some type of level or position. For example, you may hear people talk about the phrase to work your way up the corporate ladder. You're trying to improve and make progress in the company and work your way up the ladder.
Who doesn't love shopping? I know I do. But you know what's even better than shopping? Shopping phrasal verbs! It's coming up. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our lesson today. I have a super fun one. We are talking about shopping phrasal verbs. Of course, these are very useful phrasal verbs because we have to go shopping all the time. We need food, we need clothes, and that is why these verbs will come in very, very handy because we can use them all the time. So let's begin. First one is sell out. So this means they sell out. It means they don't have it any longer. That the store doesn't have something anymore and it's not available to buy. And many times we use it with of. They sell out of something. So maybe you go to the store and they have sold out of mushrooms. It happened to me the other day. They sold out of hummus or eggs or something. This is also a very common word to use with different events, for example, like a show or a concert.
Yes, from Milan.
But you said it was in the store.
No, we sold out. We've had to order some more.
Oh, you know what? I can check for you. It's sold out. Yeah, sorry about that. That's a bummer.
2 tickets for...
Let me guess. Look who's oinking.
That's right.
Sold out.
Oh.
Number 2 is try out. And this just means to test something to see if you like it. And of course, this is going to be more applicable to shopping trips that involve clothes or shoes because you want to test those items out before you buy them. I want to try out these running shoes before I run the marathon. Number 3 is pick up, and this just means to buy or grab something from the store. When you pick something up from the store, you're not spending a long time in there. You are just grabbing what you need and leaving. Easy as that.
I'm here to pick up some delicados.
Jenny just, she wants me to pick up some stuff on the way home.
We can pick up some things at the mall.
Oh, could you pick me up some pantyhose?
Maybe you could pick me up some underwear.
Number 4 is almost like number 3, but slightly different. It's pick out, not pick up. Pick out. And it has a completely different meaning. It just means to choose. This is why phrasal verbs are so complicated, is because you switch the preposition and suddenly the meaning changes. But pick out means to choose one thing.
Avocado? I don't know how to pick out an avocado.
I need you to help me pick out what to wear.
Rich women pay her to pick out their clothes.
Go in there, pick something out so we can go.
I thought I was just going to be picking out a chair.
Number 5 is mark down, and this one's among my favorite ones because when stores mark something down, it means they reduce it in price, which calls for a happy dance. Happy dance, they mark down the prices, yeah. I'm sorry about that. That's really what it means. The price goes down. It's marked down. I love this dress, and they marked it down 50%.
And everything is marked down.
The shoes were just marked down from $155.
Oh, look at this. It's $85, marked down from $600.
That dress is $6.95, marked down from $10.
Number 6 is to look around, and this one can also be fun. It just means to browse around without a plan. You don't have a shopping plan. You're not there to just go in, buy something and get out. You're just looking around. You want to see what they have. Ooh, maybe you can get a new dress. Oh, maybe some new shoes. It doesn't matter. You don't have a plan. You're just looking around. I'm not buying anything today. I'm just looking around. Number 7 is to shop around, and when you shop around, you compare prices between 2 or more stores, and we usually do this with more expensive items like a TV or a computer or a phone or things like that are worth a lot of money. We don't want to go in the first store we see and buy it. We want to shop around. Before I buy a new laptop, I want to shop around. Number 8 is shell out, and this means to pay a lot of money at once, and maybe sometimes a price that just doesn't seem fair or too much. So this one is not among my favorite phrasal verbs because nobody wants to shell out a lot of money at once.
Brewster today shelled out a record $600,000.
When I shell out 50, I expect results.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Oh, yeah?
Had to shell out $5,000 to the Breckoffs.
I haven't felt this dumb since I shelled out $30 for that bracelet. I shelled out $400 for detective.
Number 9 is to blow money on something, and this is also not among my favorites because it means to kind of spend money wastefully. Every month I blow $30 on a gym membership that I never use. Number 10 is take back, and it means to return something to the store. Now, I think Wes will agree that I do this a lot, or I used to do this a lot. If it's defective or it doesn't fit right, many times we can take it back.
So you guys want me to take this back?
I'm thinking of taking it back to the thrift store, actually.
The other thing is, if you don't like anything, takes it right back. I don't return fruit.
So in the comments, write down the answer to one of these questions. What do you like to shop around for? Have you ever blown money on something? When have you taken something back? Let us know.
We are going to study phrasal verbs. We are going to talk about phrasal verbs, but phrasal verbs that are related to study. So that's what I meant when I said we are going to study phrasal verbs. So the first phrasal verb that I have for you is think through. And this just means to carefully consider the possible outcomes of some situation. And you might say, I just need to think it through. You need to think something through and really consider it before you make a decision.
I just want you to think it through. Still thinking things through. What is there to think through?
Just try and think things through.
Let's think this thing through logically.
I don't want to decide just yet. I really want to consider things. You want to think it through. It's always good to think things through before you make a decision. The next phrasal verb is pick up. And you can pick up something or you can pick something up. And it just means to learn something. And often I think we use it when we're talking about a language or a musical instrument or even an activity. So for example, I would say that I am trying to pick up Romanian right now. I am trying to learn Romanian. And many of you are trying to pick English up, which is why you're here.
You can't just walk up to those guys. You have to get out there and learn the moves, get into their head, pick up the speech.
Picked up English faster than I could teach it.
I got bored. I thought I'd pick up a new language.
We'll be back. I've never seen anyone pick it up that quickly.
Do you have a special tool for these?
If it has to do with my hands, I usually pick it up really quickly.
The next phrasal verb is a pretty common one, and that is cheat on. You cheat on something, and this just means to act deceptively or unfairly when you are completing a task. So you can cheat on a quiz, you could cheat on a test, or cheat on an exam. I don't recommend that you cheat on anything at school, but you know, it does happen from time to time to cheat on something.
Were you cheating on your conversion test?
When I was a kid, I always played by the rules. I never cheated on a test.
I regret to announce that someone in this class cheated on yesterday's exam.
Then we have a 3-word phrasal verb, read up on. And when you read up on something, then you are increasing your knowledge about a topic by reading about it. So you might read up on history if you want to learn more about that. You might read up on a person if you are trying to find out more information about them. You would read up on something.
I read up on my history. Thanks for the tip.
This will all be on next week's midterm, so I suggest you read up on it.
I've been reading up on your family's culture.
I've been reading up on this whole Iraq war situation.
Then we have go through, and this is a great study phrasal verb because when you go through something, it just means that you are scrutinizing it. You are looking at it very carefully. So you might go through a paper, or you might go through a report that you wrote and you're looking for mistakes. So when you go through something, you are looking at it carefully. I always hope that you guys go through the comments and read them because it's another great way to practice English and practice your reading skills, and as well as learn more about each other.
I could go through the Panama Papers. We have to go through those documents.
I took the liberty of going through your address book.
We still have the books of Farian to go through.
Then we have 2 phrasal verbs that actually have the same meaning. And those phrasal verbs are hand in or turn in. So when you hand in something or you turn in something, it just means that you submit something. You give it to the teacher. You hand in your homework. You turn in the paper. You hand in the essay. You turn in your presentation. So when you hand in or turn in something, you are just giving it to either your teacher or professor.
Do you realize what would happen if I hand in my homework in your handwriting?
Anyone failing to turn in any homework assignment will be penalized 1 point off their final grade.
Hey, I want to email you my paper before I hand it in.
It's the first paper she's had to turn in. She's bound to falter a little.
The next study phrasal verb is fall behind. And this is a good one. Even though it's not a good thing, you don't want to fall behind because when you fall behind, it means that you are not current or up to date with some information or even some task, and you're really lacking in comparison to the other students. So when you fall behind, it's not a good thing, but sometimes it happens and you might say, yeah, I just fell behind or I've fallen behind.
Boys are falling behind in every subject.
You need to make school more challenging or else my son will fall behind.
We're falling way behind. You haven't exactly been helping.
Is there any company that doesn't have a product in production?
And I hope that you guys have not fallen behind and that you understand every one of these phrasal verbs. But if you have fallen a little behind, that's okay because then you can just go through the lesson again and again and again until you have picked up every single one of these phrasal verbs. And I'm just going to keep saying them and repeating them over and over because that's just another great way for you to remember them. The next phrasal verb is drop out. And when you drop out, that means that you leave an activity or a program without completing it. And often people use it and they talk about dropping out of school. When you drop out of school, you just leave and you don't complete it.
Everything else, I failed, dropped out of school.
So you're dropping out? No, I'm going to public school.
You dropped out of college?
I heard you dropped out of school.
I went to university for a year as well before I dropped out, so I'm a quitter.
Don't drop out of school. I definitely don't recommend it. I think you should work hard and turn in everything that your teacher asks you to. At least that's what I would want from my students. I always want them to hand in their assignments. The next phrasal verb is hand out. And this is a common study phrasal verb because you hear it a lot in the classroom. To hand something out just means to distribute something. You are passing something to the other students in the class. So oftentimes teachers would hand out an assignment, or they would hand out a test, or they'd hand out a quiz, or most of the stuff that they hand out, it's not stuff that learners are excited to get. Nobody wants a quiz or a test, but we gotta do them. And as long as you read up on all the information, then you should be fine.
True. I've been handing out assignments and the kids turn them in and everything.
What kind of homework are they handing out in the first grade?
Why don't you hand out the schedules?
That means we have to hand out the preparedness packs.
The next study phrasal verb is catch on. And to catch on means that you understand what is meant or that you understand how to do something. So maybe somebody might have a difficult time catching on and they have trouble understanding some material.
And you're not going anywhere.
Of course not. I'm already there. You'll catch on.
But all our professionals have college degrees.
Catch on pretty quick.
You've got to wait until your contracts are up. I get it.
You catch on slow, you'll fit right in here.
I'm sure that you guys catch on quickly and you understood these phrasal verbs, but if you didn't catch on, that's okay. Just go through the lesson again and just think it through. Think through these phrasal verbs and try to understand them. Maybe you might want to read up on them so you have a better understanding. And hopefully the fact that I've been repeating all of these phrasal verbs helps you remember their meaning a little bit better. So I have a very important lesson for you because I think just about all of us, we like to travel. And if you are traveling in another country, there's a pretty good chance you may be speaking English. And if you get sick and you go to the doctor, then you will need to explain to them in English what is happening. So I want to teach you some common phrasal verbs that you can use if you are talking to a doctor, a friend, a family member, and you're trying to explain to them how you feel if you're sick or maybe you think that you're getting sick. So the first phrasal verb that I have for you is a 3-word phrasal verb, and it is come down with. And you'd say that you are coming down with something. And this means that you are starting to become ill, usually with a particular disease that is not too serious. So overwhelmingly, I think you would use this phrasal verb when perhaps talking about a cold. And you'd say that, I think I'm starting to come down with a cold. Or maybe you feel really sick and you go to the doctor and you say, I think I came down with the flu. Or maybe you just don't know why you are sick or you don't know what you have. And you could say, well, I'm coming down with something. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go to the doctor and I'm going to tell them, look, I think I'm coming down with something. I need your help. So to come down with means that you are starting to get ill. And again, it's usually something that is not too serious to come down with.
Sure you're not coming down with a cold?
Yeah, I think I came down with the flu.
Peter's come down with something. Thinks he caught it from the rats.
Then we have the phrasal verb burn up. And when you're talking about sickness, burn up means that you're very hot. And typically this is because you have a fever. So perhaps somebody comes to you and they say, wow, I think I might have a fever. This is when you could put your hand on their forehead and feel it. And if it feels very hot, you would tell them, you'd say, wow, you're burning up. You definitely have a fever because you're burning up.
Holy crap.
Yeah, burning up.
Yeah.
You're burning up.
Got hotter places in my forehead.
Let's stick with the preposition up right now. And this next phrasal verb I think is very common. It's something that happens to all of us, and I don't think anybody likes it, and that is to throw up. And when someone throws up, it just means that they vomit. So if you go to the doctor and you want to tell them that you are sick and that you vomited, you could just say, yeah, last night I threw up. I don't know what's wrong. I definitely think I'm coming down with something. But if you throw up, then you just vomit. Another phrasal verb that is somewhat related, but it is definitely different, and that is cough up. And when you cough something up, it's talking about, liquid that may be in your lungs, and you're just coughing and you might cough something up. So if you have a severe cold, I think it's quite possible that you would cough some of that stuff up in your lungs, and it's not a very pleasant feeling, and then you'd want to spit it out if you are coughing up something like mucus. If you are coughing up something like blood, then that may be very serious, and you would definitely want to go to the doctor and tell them, I'm coughing up blood. What do you think the problem is? Cough up.
I think I'm gonna cough up a fur ball.
Glad I've been coughing all day. I feel like I'm about to cough up a lung.
No, you should quit. That's bad for you.
Didn't you hear what I just said?
I saw you cough up blood.
Another phrasal verb with up is puff up. And this just means that you're describing something that is starting to swell or enlarge. And you could say that it is puffing up. Maybe if you are like me and you get bad allergies, then maybe your cheeks would start to puff up, or your eyes could puff up a little bit and they can start to swell. And this phrasal verb, I really do think if you have allergies and you have a reaction to something, there is a possibility that something will start to puff up. So if you want to describe it and say that something is swelling, it is enlarging, you could say that it's puffing up.
There you go, little guy.
I'm not scared of him, but, it's an allergic thing. My whole face could puff up.
My ankles will swell, my eyes will puff up. I look just like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Then we have another phrasal verb using the preposition up, and that is flare up. And if you say that something flares up or it is flaring up, then you're talking about a condition that has returned. And usually, if somebody has a condition, it may go away over time, but then it returns, it comes back. And you could then say, well, it's starting to flare up. And especially if it's noticeable, if you can see this, and maybe you're talking about your skin. You could say, well, something happens, I have this condition, and it's starting to flare up again, and perhaps you need to go to the doctor and get some medication, because your condition, it's starting to flare up.
Honey, I thought you'd be ready. Well, I think my symptoms are flaring up.
Yeah, but most of the time it won't even be an issue. It only really flares up during periods of great stress.
Would you rather me say, hey guys, my irritable bowel syndrome is flaring up?
The next phrasal verb is break out, and this just means to start suddenly. And often, I think, again, you probably would be referring to something that's going on with your skin that you can actually see. But maybe you don't know what it is, and you would go to the doctor and just tell them, like, look, I just started to break out. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what it is. It happened suddenly. I just started breaking out. And perhaps it could be an allergic reaction to something. Maybe it was something you ate, and then suddenly you just started breaking out. Next is actually, well, this is a good phrasal verb when you think about sickness, and that is fight off, because this is something that we all want to do. We want to fight off a cold, because we want to stay healthy. So to fight something off just means that you are trying to resist this disease, this illness, and you are fighting it off. Maybe you are eating really healthy, you're getting a lot of vitamin C, and because of that, you can say, well, I'm trying to fight something off. So I think most of the time people would use this phrasal verb if they are starting to feel a little sick. And that's when people kind of spring into action, and then they try to fight off the illness.
But why do you need the meds if you're not sick?
To fight off the cold symptoms that my healthy body is exhibiting.
I can fight off whatever stupid illness this pizza may or may not have had, all right? I'm in perfect control of my body.
We use your brain to fight off rabies.
Then we have get over, which, well, this one too, this is another positive phrasal verb when you think about sickness, because when you get over something, it means that you have recovered from this illness or disease and you got over it. So when you get over something, then you are starting to feel healthy again because you have recovered from this sickness. And I think it's quite common to use this when talking about, well, a cold. And you could say, I was starting to come down with a cold, but I was really trying to fight it off, and I got a little sick, but because I was fighting it off, I got over it really quickly. And that is good news if you get over a cold or any illness for that matter.
Sheldon, you don't get over the flu in half an hour.
I'm just getting over a cold.
I finally got over my seasickness.
Next is the phrasal verb pass out. And if somebody passes out, then it just means that they lose consciousness. And there are many reasons why a person might pass out, but it could happen if you are severely sick and you have a really bad fever, your head is burning up, you can't fight it off any longer, and you're so tired and you might just pass out and you become unconscious. So to pass out is to become unconscious.
I got sick. I go outside, pass out.
I'm fine. I just pass out sometimes.
Did you not listen to my messages? I told you, I got locked in a storage room. I don't know, I got sick and passed out.
Then if we want to say the opposite of pass out, we can use, one of three phrasal verbs: come to, come around, or come round. And all of them, they mean the same thing. It just means to regain consciousness. So if you are really sick, you're burning up, and then you pass out, a little later on, you might come to and regain consciousness, and hopefully whatever sickness you have, you will get over it quickly. And as always, I will just try to continue using these phrasal verbs again and again because I think that will just help you better understand their meaning. Then we have put on, and this just means to receive some medical treatment, but I think there is more of a specific use because you would talk about it when you go to the doctor and they tell you, they say, okay, this is what you need to take. And then later on, you might tell somebody else, well, the doctor put me on this medication. The doctor put me on whatever it is they tell you that you need to take. So they would put you on some medication, and in that case, they are giving you medical treatment to put on.
But my doctor put me right on a new round of chemo, which is why I've been so tired lately.
Doctors put me on medication to stop the seizures.
Did they put you on medication?
Better. Medical marijuana. It's genius.
Now I know sickness, it is a very serious topic, but I want to end it on a lighter note. So I could say that I hope that all of you learn some new phrasal verbs and that they may help you now or in the future if you have to go to the doctor and try to explain what's going on. Today I'm going to talk to you about phrasal verbs that deal with speaking. Let's start with the verb talk. And the first phrasal verb I have for you, and possibly the most common, is talk to. Talk to someone. And when you talk to someone, you are directly speaking to another person.
I have to talk to someone.
Are you talking to
Me?
I suppose that you could also talk to something as well.
Talk to the hand.
Probably just talking to a tree right now.
You been talking to my car?
Those two are falling in love? I'm talking to a dog.
Most of the time, we're talking about another person. You talk to someone. This is very similar to another phrasal verb, talk with, and they're basically interchangeable. You are speaking directly with another person. Talk to, talk with.
Come and talk with me.
I've talked with the others.
Well, it was very nice talking with you.
The only difference is that talking with, it really implies that there is another person you're having a conversation with. So for example, I could talk to myself in the mirror. I wouldn't really say talk with because there's no other person involved. So that's why I think it's a little more common to talk to someone or something. The next phrasal verb using talk is to talk someone up. Notice that someone goes in between the verb and the preposition. And when you talk someone up, then you are just speaking very enthusiastically about this person. So if you're in a group of friends, you can talk him up, you can talk her up. Maybe you could talk me up and tell everyone about interactive English. Another good example is like in a job interview. You go in there and you want to talk yourself up because you want to show them that you're the best. To talk someone up.
No, I was talking you up.
You shouldn't have been talking me up. You should have been taking care of...
I talked you up, okay?
She's so well read.
Good, because I've got so many people I want you to meet. I'm talking you up like crazy here.
Another phrasal verb which is not so good is to talk back to someone. Talk back. And this means that you are replying to someone in a rude manner and you're not being polite. So for example, if there's a conversation and somebody tells you to do something and you don't want to and you're angry, you might talk back to this person. Often you hear it in situations like children talk back to their parents, maybe employees sometimes talk back to their boss. But when you're talking back to someone, you are not being very nice, and more often than not, you should be polite in these situations, but instead you're talking back.
Don't talk back to your dad. How dare you talk back to a senior ranking officer?
He's not listening, he's hostile, he's talking back.
Don't talk back.
Now let's look at speak, because there are several phrasal verbs using this verb. The first one I want to talk to you about is speak up. And this just means to raise your voice and make it a little louder. So often if you're having a conversation, somebody might ask you to speak up because they can't really hear you well, they don't know what you're saying. You might hear this when talking on the phone because there's other noises and maybe it's difficult to understand somebody, so they might say, hey, could you please speak up a little?
Could you speak up, please?
Please. Come on, speak up.
Could you speak up, Mr. Roberts? Listen here so well.
Speak up, George! I can't hear you!
You what say? Speak up! I can't hear you with that bubble doll.
We can change this meaning completely by adding another preposition to make it a three-word phrasal verb, and that is speak up for someone. Speak up for. And if you are speaking up for someone, then you are just defending this person. So you may want to defend this person because they're being attacked and you want to speak up for him or speak up for her, or maybe even speak up for yourself.
If we don't speak up for them, who will?
You can't speak up for us, at least speak up for yourself.
As the peacekeeper.
Good on me for speaking up for you.
And Miss Bruckheimer and I are here today as patriots, speaking up for the common citizen.
Now we can remove up and make it a two-word phrasal verb once again with another new meaning. Speak for someone. And when you speak for someone, you're basically representing this person's beliefs, this person's opinion. You are speaking for this other person. Often it's used in some context where there's a group of people and you might say, I speak for everyone when I say this opinion or this belief. So for example, I could say, I think I speak for everyone when I say, you should hit that like button.
I speak for this family.
But I know I speak for everyone.
I speak for the trees.
I think I speak for everyone when I say you shall be missed.
Oh, and I think I speak for everyone here when I say, thank you for taking us in.
Another phrasal verb, which is so common, is this one right here, and that is shut up. Now, this phrasal verb is important because it does have a couple of different meanings. The first one, which I think most of us probably think of, is firmly or angrily telling someone to be quiet. You don't want this person talking anymore. You want them to close their mouth. You don't want any more sounds coming out. You might tell them, shut up.
Shut up!
Shut up! Shut up!
Shut up!
The other way that this phrasal verb is used is kind of to express disbelief. So somebody says something that is outrageous, that you can't believe it, and you might just say, no, shut up. Shut up. Really? Shut up. So in this case, it's not really used to be rude or mean. You're basically expressing your disbelief. You can't believe what you're hearing. Shut up.
Shut up.
Shut up!
You and Beth? Shut up, what happened?
Who is somebody that you would like to talk to? Have you ever talked someone up? Have you ever talked back to someone? Or has anyone ever talked back to you? Write to us in the comments, practice using these phrasal verbs, because to be perfectly honest, that is the best way to remember the meaning and really understand how to use them. Today, I want to talk to you about some useful phrasal verbs that you may use every day. Phrasal verbs that are related to the computer, to the internet, to technology in general, which is why I said you may use these every day, because we use the computer all the time. So the first phrasal verb that I want to talk to you about, well, actually a couple of phrasal verbs that have the same meaning, is log in and sign in. And what this means is just to access a computer or even a site using a name and a password. When you first start using the computer, you may need to log in. And then if you perhaps want to go to a website, you might have to sign into that website.
Anonymous 821 signed in to multiple accounts and standing by.
I logged into Hoytzman's computer and flooded it with Thai pornography.
Then we have to click on, and that just means to move the mouse over to an application, to a link, and then you select it. You click on the application, or you click on the link.
Just click on the enchanted boots to put them on.
I don't know. Can I see them in another color?
Just click on them.
Next, we have scroll up and scroll down. And this just means to move to the top or bottom of a site or a text. So for example, if you're using a document, you might need to scroll down to find more information or keep reading. Or maybe if you miss something, then you would scroll back up.
Okay, wait a minute. What happens if you scroll down? How about if you scroll up?
You can also scroll through a site or a document, and this just means to go through it, to go up and down, usually because you're looking for some specific information, and you are scrolling through the site in order to find the information that you need.
I will take a silent-faced journey as I scroll through this comment section.
And scroll through the on-screen menu.
You should scroll through the pictures on my husband's phone.
To back up. And oftentimes you're talking about backing up your computer or backing up your hard drive. And this just means to keep an extra copy of information for safekeeping. Every now and then I need to back up my computer. I need to save that information in case something happens. Or maybe you say you're going to back up your hard drive, which is where the information is stored, and you are going to back everything up, because you definitely don't want to lose it. It's always smart to back up your computer.
Every time it's triggered, I get a text, like a Google alert. I don't even know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. You know he backs up his hard drive every night, right?
What are you doing?
Backing up the hard drive. It's a good habit to get into.
Next is hack into. And when somebody hacks into another computer or even a site, then that just means they are illegally accessing a computer or they're illegally connecting to some kind of network. So it's not a good thing. I hope that you are not trying to hack into someone else's computer in order to steal information, but this is a phrasal verb that you may definitely hear if you're watching a movie or a TV show and somebody's trying to illegally access some information. They may hack into the computer or maybe hack into the network.
He hacked into our system.
You hacked into her computer. Wait, I'm hacking into the phone's camera now. There, that's it. That's a live stream.
Monica hacked into our server, okay?
Please don't tell me that you hacked into Ephraim's system.
I won't tell you that.
Well, did you hack into it or not?
Sheldon, that computer is used for national defense. Hacking into it is a federal crime.
Then we have the phrasal verb run out of, and this just means to decrease the supply of something. When talking about computers, it's common to hear someone say that they are running out of space. They use the computer all the time and they're storing all this information, photos, and they begin to run out of space. Now, this is a phrasal verb that you can use in a variety of different contexts, but it has the same meaning. For example, you might run out of gas if you're driving a car, or maybe here at home, I might run out of milk, which is true. I am running out of milk, so I need to go to the store. The supply is decreasing. But when you're talking about a computer, people would say they're running out of space.
Apparently the net has run out of web space and they don't have enough bytes left to add my name.
Now, if you're trying to create more space, you might use the phrasal verb free up. And you're trying to free up space and make it available so that you can continue to save photos and other information on the computer. You need to free up some space. We can also use this phrasal verb in a variety of other situations as well. For example, you may need to free up some of your time and you make it available so that you can do other things. But when talking about computers, it's all about the space that you have, the memory. Most of the time, people free up space by deleting things, but just make sure. That's why it's good to back everything up so you don't lose anything.
You're making a choice to destroy it, to never see it again. You choose to delete because you need to free up space, because you don't want it anymore.
Next is the phrasal verb pop up. To pop up, which means just to suddenly appear. So I think it's normal nowadays if you are using the internet that an advertisement will suddenly pop up and it just appears. So this is a phrasal verb, to pop up, but it can also be used as a noun because that advertisement, the one that pops up, is referred to as a pop-up. It's called a pop-up, but the action to pop up is a phrasal verb. And I keep saying pop up so many times, I hope that this is not confusing.
Yeah, except when you update the software, a little window pops up and you click OK.
I actually go inside there, but I've seen those ads pop up on my screen.
Then we have opt in and opt out. And this just means to choose to receive messages. So if you opt in, then you are saying, yes, I will receive some messages. If you change your mind and say, I don't want to receive any messages any longer, then you can opt out. Opt in, opt out.
What value can we offer now to the user to entice them to download the app and opt into our network?
This is the Butt Whisperer 9000. Cushion track, dog walk side path, liability opt-out button, keep 'em coming, and drill sergeant mode.
We also have the phrasal verb filter out, and this just means to remove unwanted email messages. So if you receive emails that you don't want, you're not interested in these messages, then you may try to filter them out so that you just don't receive them anymore.
Google always filters out my emails. They think I'm a bot.
And when we said someone should probably help Eric by filtering out any negative comments, he mentioned you by name.
Then we have 3 phrasal verbs that mean, well, they all mean the same thing. So this should be easy, and that is turn off, shut down, and power off. And it just means to end a session on the computer and you just stop using it. So if you're not going to use the computer anymore, you can turn it off, or maybe you'll shut it down. Or perhaps you'll power it off. You can use any one of these 3. In my personal opinion, I think turn off is probably the most common, followed by shut down, and then power off. It's still used, but I don't think it's as commonly used. And I'm probably going to hear from a bunch of people in the comments say, I always say power off. I love using that one. You can use any of them. Don't worry about it. They all mean the same thing. Turn off, shut down, power off.
Turn off the computer and come downstairs.
I'm gonna need your gimbal angles, Jack, before you shut down the computer.
Energy probe. Shut down, Alex. Shut down. Power off.
Then we have plug in, which is a phrasal verb specifically talking about plugging a power cable into a socket. Plug in. So if you need to charge your battery, then you're going to need to plug it into a socket so that you can continue to use the computer.
I don't think your computer is plugged in.
I'm sorry, guys.
What are you doing? Plugging in your computer?
Then we have print out. And if you are printing something out, then you are making a copy of something from the computer. Most of the time, it's talking about a document. You open up a document and you want to have that hard copy, so then you will need to print it out. Print out.
Look, I've got your advert here. Yes. I printed it out.
I've printed out some review.
I've been craving Sudanese all day. I'll print out some menus.
Then we have set up. And to set something up just means to install a new program or perhaps even assemble a computer. I don't think that most of us are assembling our own computers and it's like, oh, I have to set up my computer. You might say that in the context of you have a new computer and you need to move all your information from the old computer to the new computer and all of your programs. In that case, you could say, you know, I need to set it up. I need to get everything ready so I can start using it again. But you will see this phrasal verb when you start using a new program for the first time. You will need to set it up on your computer. You install it, you set it up, and then you can start using it.
We set up a voice activation system on your computer.
I am going to need so much help setting up my computer. I'm like a total grandma.
Then we have keep up with. And this is probably my favorite phrasal verb because I think it applies to me. This is used when talking about technology because what it means is to maintain the same level of something. And often I think it's talking about like knowledge or changes. And it really applies to technology because often people like me might say, with so many changes happening and it's moving so fast, it's difficult to keep up with all of these changes. It's difficult to keep up with all of these updates on the computer. It's difficult to keep up with all of these different forms of social media. So if you're like me, then yes, it may be difficult to keep up with all of these changes.
Been trying to keep up with her, but I'm an old ass.
What do you like about Ryan?
Ryan keeps up with all the latest technology trends. And he's very honest with me about when I put on weight.
And I hope that you have no problem keeping up with our lessons because you don't have to sign in to anything in order to watch our lessons. Now, there may be an advertisement that pops up from time to time and you may have to watch it, but that's just about it. And I'm just trying to use these phrasal verbs again and again because that's just going to help you remember their meaning. If you enjoyed this lesson and learned something new, please hit that like button. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.